this fourth episode, I want to talk about something that probably is contradictory to what a lot of you have been taught or told or even read about, and that's body rotation. When we look at body rotation, people say, oh yes, you have to rotate your body to minimize the frontal drag. In other words, if I'm going through the water like a barge and I have no rotation, yes, I'm going to create a tremendous amount of drag in the back. If I can rotate my shoulders from side to side, that minimizes that dragging effect. But if I try to over-rotate my entire body like a log or a plank in the water, and my hips simultaneously have the same amount of rotation as my shoulders, then I get in trouble. So I'll try to give you a quick demo, and we're going to look at this in the water. Ideally on the rotation, I have about half as much rotation out of my hips as I do my shoulders. If I've got great thoracic spine mobility, which allows me to rotate from side to side, and I'm not lordotic in my low back, and I'm not allowing my leg to splay out to the side, which a lot of people do. Oh, rotate as far as you can. All of a sudden the kick goes like this, and wow, you want to create drag, just spread your feet apart like a scissors kick, and that's a guaranteed way to slow yourself down. So we want to think about rotation, but I'm going to give you a couple cues, and we'll do this in the water. If you have a hot cup of coffee on your tailbone, right down at the very bottom, and as I'm learning this, I want to go to the extreme. So right now, I'm going to minimize my hip rotation, and I'm going to try to rotate with my upper body, but I'm not going to spill that cup of coffee. You're going to feel a lot of torsional tension through your obliques, through your transverse abdominis, which is your stabilizing core muscle, and that's a good thing because you'll be able to generate more power on the front end of your stroke. So we really want to concentrate initially on keeping the hips pretty calm. Start off with a very subtle rotation, and then we can add more rotation with your shoulders without losing the back end of your stroke. So there's a lot to think about with minimal rotation, calmer hips. We talk about rotation with your shoulders and your hips. We really need to be careful about over-rotating, because if you're tight in your shoulders and your back, and you also notice your hip flexors are real tight, it affects the front end and also the rotation from side to side. Remember, you're not a log in the water. We don't want to rotate our shoulders and our hips to an equal rotational angle. The hips generally rotate about half the rotation of the shoulders. So here's the tip. Minimize the hip roll. I use a hot cup of coffee on your tailbone, or using that pull buoy between your calves, and see if you can rotate your shoulders without rotating your hips. Then bring in the hip roll. And one final little cue, if you can just keep your feet together as you're rotating, that will minimize this splaying of your feet, which I see with a lot of athletes when they try to over-rotate.